check, mic
Keep,
check.
Keep talking, Abby. Keep talking.
Progressively overloading.
Progressively overloading.
Abby, say it together.
Progress.
Progress.
Okay.
Prog-
Okie dokie. What's up, everybody? Coach Abby, Coach Logan, and this is Workout 101.
Uno. Cero uno. We had a workshop here at Novi this past weekend, and then this is going to be the quick breakdown of all those things. Kind of what we talked about. And yeah, the first thing we had was a warm-up. So we're going to go over the warm-up, why it's so important, why you should be doing it, and then some ways to do it.
Yeah.
So for the warm-up, you will prime your body for whatever movements you're going to be doing that day. So if you're doing the bench press, you're priming chest, triceps. If you're doing squats, you're priming your legs, mostly quads and glutes. So the stronger you are, the longer you might need to warm up.
Yes.
If you are someone who is bench pressing 300 pounds, it's going to take you a little bit longer to warm up to those 300 pounds. If you're focusing more on strength, which usually requires more weight, which would be less reps, it's going to take a little bit longer to warm up to that.
Always take your time.
If you have to do 30 bench press at whatever weight, it's probably going to be a lighter weight than if you were to do 5 reps at whatever that bench press weight is. So considerations for warming up: more strength-based take longer, and if you're stronger, it takes longer.
Yes. If it's colder outside, it takes longer.
It takes longer. So you don't have to do some large, long, dynamic warm-up that involves jumping on an assault bike, doing all these stretches and foam rolling or anything like that. Unless you really want to, it makes you feel like $1 million and you have all the time in the world to do that, then cool, but you don't have to. The most important thing is whatever movements you're going to be doing that day, you warm up for those movements.
Yes.
So whatever that could be for that day. In this example, we have the bench press. So someone who's going dumbbell bench press, very specific, is going to be doing 10 to 15 reps at a 3-1-X1 tempo. And their working weight that they had last week was 25 pounds. Trying to figure that out based off of their progressive overload and week 0 stuff.
Yep.
They know that they need to warm up to 25 pounds. They might not know, but they should. So
now they know.
An example to warm up to that would be take about half of that and do it for 5 to 10 reps. So in this instance, it ends up being 12-ish, 12 and a half pounds, and then increasing to 5 to 10 reps for that. You don't have to do your working set amount repetition. That's just wasted energy. All you're really trying to do is use that tempo and get a good range of motion, just like you are. You're going to get a perfect technique. Practicing your form, warming up is exactly as if you were in that working set. So that primes your body to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Shouldn't feel super hard or effortful necessarily.
Right.
Just focused. Good technique.
Yeah. Building in that connection for what muscles you're going to be trying to use. Make sure your form is in line. Taking it as an opportunity to work on that technique as you warm up. Then doing something similar for a little bit heavier load, a little bit less reps. And then you get to your working set. And with that working set, you do a few. That primes your body, let you know this is what it's going to be.
Just
Rest
a couple.
a little bit. Yep. And then you go for it. That entire warming up process, it'll take 1 to 2 minutes. It's pretty quick. You just kind of roll through, get the weights, put them back, whatever you're going to do, or just kind of add some weights and slap weights on.
Yeah, the longest time is to go get the dumbbells.
And
basically
clean them off because you don't want to be dirty. Don't be dirty. Gross. Yeah. Dirty hands. Especially in this time of cold season, flu.
Yeah.
You definitely want to spray out those dumbbells.
Yep. Just take your time.
Getting your boogers and mocos everywhere.
Yeah. But what are the benefits of warming up?
Warming up makes the tissues a little bit more pliable, gets your nervous system awake and ready to be able to actually move. And it is good to groove the nervous system. Nerves that wire together, fire together is one of those sayings. So technical benefit, a lot of form that you can be working on, and then just getting general blood flow and warmth to it. Then it also, as a mental aspect, can give you a little bit of preparedness for what you're going to be doing. Getting your mind right, getting your favorite playlist going during the warm-up, making sure that you can be ready to go.
Yep.
Bam.
Yeah. Also, it just feels better to lift when your body's actually ready to than like cold joints walking out of this
winter months,
cold weather.
Take longer sometimes. Summer months, not as long. Your body's naturally going to be a little bit more warmed up in the day and the afternoon. So mornings, definitely take your time warming up. More important then than it would be in the afternoon.
Yep. Go warm up.
There. Next thing. From Workout 101.
What?
Training frequency.
Who wrote that?
You did. That's definitely not my handwriting. It's not a lefty either.
No.
Because it's not erased. Training frequency. 2 to 4 times per week, 15 minutes, less than 3 years of blah, blah, 2 times 3 weeks. So there's the information. Good luck. That's all it is. That's all training frequency is. For training frequency, this is based on the beginner. So anybody that's been training less than 3 years, generally, there's many specifics that go into that, but generally less than 3 years of resistance training, you can train 2 to 4 times per week, somewhere around that 15 minutes, up to like an hour to 90 minutes effectively. And then the idea of the 2 to 4 times per week is to try to train each muscle group, especially the major ones, 2 to 3 times per week. So for your major muscle groups, it takes a little bit longer to recover. So for the glutes, for the hamstrings, for the quadriceps, chest and back, you do need more time to recover. For the smaller muscle groups, the biceps, the triceps, the shoulders, you need a bit less time. So for the major muscle groups, the bigger ones, you can train about twice per week. For the smaller ones, you can train 3 times per week, even up to 4 times per week for like calves, some biceps, some triceps, and some shoulders. So the 2 to 4 times per week, as coaches here at Nobi, we think if we can get someone in here twice a week, we're going to train full body. If we can get someone in here 3 times per week and we can separate some rest days, we're probably going to train full body. But then once we get to 4 times per week, we're trying to use that number of 2 to 3 times per week for each muscle group. So that's when kind of movement patterns come into account. So Abby's going to sneeze. The training frequency is dictated mostly on the person's ability to recover from that training so they can get the good adaptation, so they can get the good stimulus. Now she's just crying.
Yeah.
So if someone knows that RDLs or a certain movement makes their hamstrings really sore, it's best to give that a little bit of extra time. If they know that they can actually train shoulders or biceps all these times per week and not get too sore, then you can even train up to 5 times, 6 times per week. But most beginners, 2 to 4 times per week is going to be the most effective, and 2 to 3 times per the muscle groups is going to be the most effective.
Yep. Everything that he just said.
Yes. It's if you're in a library and that's a beginner, and to hear somebody in a library, you merely need to whisper. But as you go to ladder scenarios, which would be going from beginner to intermediate to advanced, you have to speak a little bit louder and require a little bit more noise to that system. So less noise to the system in the beginning. Once you get a little bit along the way of your journey of losing your hearing, then you have to speak a little bit louder. But that's the way of thinking about it. Keep it simple, and then you don't have to yell in the beginning, or you'll have tinnitus.
Yeah.
Or tendinitis in this instance.
Yeah, tendinitis.
But tinnitus in the
or
analogy.
tinnitus.
Tinnitus.
Yeah.
Brits.
Yep. I have nothing to add. That was wonderful.
Great. Thanks. And back at it. Next was movement patterns. What the heck is a movement pattern? Why do we do it? Why does a squat help you go poop in the real world? And why does a press help you get your Metamucil to put your fiber in a glass from the top shelf to help you go poop in the real world? Fiber. That'll be soon in the world.
Yeah. Gotta get it.
These are the 6 movement patterns that we rely on heavily for programming. There are many others. There are many other ones you can consider. More specific: anti-flexion, anti-extension. If you're a big old nerd like Huberman and Andy Galpin, you're always just pushing and pulling anyways. So what's anything else?
Yeah.
So there's many ways to look at this. But for us...
Vertical push, vertical pull.
Yeah.
Blah,
Yes.
blah, blah.
We use squat, pull, push, core rotation, lunge, hinge. And sorry, that was not in the right order for you. If that bugs you, that's something you should talk to your coach or healthcare provider for, especially your mental ones, to work on that. But the movement patterns we have here usually recruit certain muscles. For the squat, it could be the quads, the glutes, ideally not your hamstrings, but maybe your back, shoulders. For the pushing, it's going to be mostly shoulders and chest ideally. For pulling, it's going to be mostly the back, a little bit of biceps, rear delts. Hinging is going to be mostly hamstrings, glutes. And then your core rotation is going to be everything kind of in this way, but also it's very functional for sports, rotational sports, tennis, golf, anything that involves throwing. That's going to be utilized there. So for us with the squat, for the push, the pull, all these things, we use those for programming as more of a baseline for what we give to people per week, especially if they're doing full body. If you're doing full body exercise, you should probably try to incorporate all these movement patterns within your program 2 to 3 times per week.
Yep.
And if you're here at Nobi, they're in your program 2 to 3 times per week. For the squat, what we're trying to focus the most for people is figuring out where your best range of motion is for your squat. So getting as low as possible and allowing your feet and your body to dictate where you're going to go. So if your feet need to splay out, rotate out, or if your stance needs a little bit wider because you have long legs, allow that to be your squat stance and figure that stuff out. Prioritizing the range of motion over everything else. So we're not trying to ego lift and trying to increase load. So getting as low as you can within that squat with an upright position, targeting the muscles that are actually required within that movement pattern. So for the squat, quadriceps, glutes, being upright with the chest. KB's not. He's flexing. He's not.
Well, KB doesn't ego lift,
He does not ego lift. Nope. So squatting, trying to get full range of motion, always a controlled tempo, and putting a stretch on the muscle that you're trying to work on. So for the squat, you should feel a good stretch in the quad. You should be doing squats. You should be doing something for the rectus femoris, the one that actually gives you a little bit of hip flexion. So you should be doing something that's hip flexion specific.
It's one in the middle.
Yes. Google, what is it? Sissy
squats?
Foreman knee extension.
Yeah.
Knee extensions, tall kneeling lean backs. That's a good one. You could always go to Mile Wolf, go to Jeff Nippard, one of their channels. They have a lot of demonstration videos in there. They will give you pretty good examples, but you want to be able to train that top part of the quad, the middle part of the quad, as well as the entire quad, getting good stretch.
Yep.
For the push, the focus was on the dumbbell bench press. We showed that.
Yeah.
But for the dumbbell bench press, people were unaware that the range of motion is where your body mostly stops you, not trying to take the dumbbells to your anatomical stop position, but allowing the tissues in the press position in your shoulders to be the limiting factor. So getting a good stretch, allowing that stretch and deep range of motion to actually be something that improves your mobility.
Just a wee bit lower.
As well. Yeah. So that's the most important part. And then having that warm up prime you into that range of motion.
Yeah. Warm up.
Warm up. So
we'll help you.
Never pushing to pain, never pushing to injury, but push the dumbbell away after getting a good deep stretch. Pulling, similar concept there with the horizontal and with the horizontal and the vertical. Mostly the pull-up itself, you want to get a good stretch at the bottom, so allowing yourself to actually get into a deep stretch. If you're not able to do that, then you adjust accordingly. If it's a negative pull-up or if it's a assisted pull-up. I'm boring, Abby. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
If it's an assisted pull-up, then
I need food.
Getting that deep stretch regardless over everything else, even if you're not able to get your chin over the bar, that's kind of an ego thing for sure. It's cool that you can do a pull-up all the way to the top. Great, I'm glad for you. But if you start here, it doesn't really count. And you can fight me in the comments.
Fight him.
Fight him. Lunging.
That's why I'm so tired.
We've been fighting.
And hungry. No, because I did lunges.
Fighting each other.
Yes. Yeah. That might be true.
Lunging. This is going to be more quad dominant and glute dominant. Yep. So we discussed how that hip angle, whether you're tilting forward or more upright, can improve that. Check the shorts. There's some lunge videos in our shorts on the channel.
Yep.
Also, some of these actually are on our shorts as well. But the main thing there is also getting a full range of motion and not using that back leg to press off. So it should almost be if that back leg is floating off the ground when you're doing your lunge.
Just a kickstand.
Just a kickstand. You should not be pressing off that back leg, reverting back to more of a deficit or no weight to be able to do that weightless or without any weights. Getting comfortable with that first, because the most important thing is effective reps and making sure that you feel that target muscle, glute and quad in that lunge, and not the back one that isn't working or doing anything.
Yep.
Hinging. So this is going to be hip extension. The hamstrings are required. The glutes are required. If you're doing a glute bridge or something like a barbell hip thrust, it's more glute focused. And then if you're doing something more like an RDL, stiff-legged deadlift, Romanian deadlift, and then good mornings or back extension, it's more hamstrings required. The one specific thing that you have to do with the hamstring, it is getting the knee to flex and extend. So flexing the knee is going to use the bicep femoris. It's a hamstring, I think. And then the actual hip hinging the biarticulate because the hamstring crosses two joints. That's biarticulate. But preloading, so you have to have a little bit of a bend in the knee, so it crosses the knee, and then hipping back. So the common fault for the hinge pattern is people think of it as bending over, but it's not bending over. It's upright position, hips going back as far as you can. Tension should be through the hamstrings, loading up the hamstrings entirely. If you feel it's like in your low back, unless you're specifically doing like low back flexion stuff, then it doesn't matter too much. But if you are not, you can get actually a little bit of anterior tilt or rounding in the back, in the low back. We'll preload those hamstrings to allow for you to feel it a little bit more.
Yeah.
With all of these, be safe, warm up, feel the activation, make sure the proper muscles are being recruited. A core rotational, similar idea. You wanted to be able to brace through. Oh, what did we even touch on core?
Yeah, we did bent hollow hold.
Bent hollow hold.
And then dead bugs.
See, that's why Abby's here.
Peanut gallery.
We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight about it. So the bent hollow hold was more of an anti-extension going into flexion of the core. So this would be the extension position. So we're trying to prevent that, which can be an issue for people, female mostly, who have had babies, and the babies destroy your belly and they don't care about your pelvic floor. They're just like, get me out of here. I want some food. And that's what a baby does. I'm going to cry. I'm going to poop. Give me some food. But learning how to brace, keep your core engaged throughout that process, mucho beneficial. Yeah. So anti-flexion, Dixon. It's good for stability practice, being able to actually get your body in a good position, especially if you're doing any overhead work or pressing overhead. If you maybe have lacking external rotation of the shoulders, and you trying to get to a compromised position, it goes into your low back instead of being able to brace accordingly. Not inherently bad, but it can be problematic if you don't warm up and you ego lift.
Warm up.
So in summation with all these things, improving your range of motion helps prevent injury risk. If you can take your joint to its full ranges of motion very actively and with strength, and then practice and train within those ranges of motion, when you fall or you get into a compromised position, via like contact or from some other person or just tripping on something, you're less likely to injure yourself because you've actually trained within those ranges of motion. Doesn't matter how big your muscles are if they can't take you through the ranges of motion of the joint and prevent you from getting injured, because then if you can't use it because you're injured, you're going to atrophy, and then you're going to dwindle down, and then you'll be like, oh, that person used to be so fit, and then you're like, oh no, they're not anymore because
they're no longer jacked.
They couldn't walk up the stairs without falling and breaking their arm. So that's
their story.
That's the story. All of that came from here. Controlled tempo, good warm-ups, good ranges of motion using these movement patterns. And those are the ways that you should feel those movement patterns.
Range of motion is also humbling. So if you have to go down and wait because you're trying to do more range of motion.
Talk to your therapist about why it bothers you so much. If you don't have a therapist, you should.
There you go.
Or at least some way to cope with your inability to cope.
Yes. Good one.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely.
Summation. It's closer. Okay. Got it. So in summation, all this means nothing if you're not progressively overloading. Progressively overloading. Abby, say it together.
Progressively.
No, together.
Progress. Okay.
It's over.
Okay.
Progressively overloading. Okay, sure. If you're not progressively overloading or making your reps effective. So how do we do that?
Say with me. Effective reps.
One more time.
Effective reps.
All right, we're synced. Good job. Okay. So progressively overloading and having effective reps. What does that even mean? Effective reps are making sure that the last 1 to 2 reps are difficult. So if you had to go to failure, is KB talking to you?
Yeah.
I swear. Keep looking back like he has some words to say.
He does.
Yeah, he's just smirking.
Yeah.
Your last 1 to 2 reps need to be difficult. If your tempo is great, your range of motion is great, and you're pushing towards that end, and you think, oh, I can do 1 or 2 more reps, cool. That's where you want to be. If you get beyond that, you're starting to accumulate too much fatigue for the stimulus. It doesn't make too much sense.
Yep.
So your last couple reps
bang for your buck.
need to be hard. And then if you have that in your mind, last couple reps are hard, then from there, each week to week, as you track it, log it, make sure you have either like True Coach, a notebook, whatever, any of these one apps out there in the world you can use.
So many.
Then from week to week, you're trying to do a little bit better. If your goal is hypertrophy, then you're trying to do more volume. And that can look like doing more repetition. That can look like doing more weight. That can look like doing more sets. Volume
What's
total.
hypertrophy?
Hypertrophy is muscle growth. So if you're trying to grow your muscles, which you should, because that's the best transporter and utilizer of glucose, then that sugar will help with blood regulation. So blood glucose regulation.
Yep. And longevity.
Longevity. You don't want sugar floating through your system. No. And then you're diabetic. So progressively overloading. Sure. And then effective reps are what you need with all those things. So if you check out your training frequency 2 to 4 times per week, make sure you're training the muscle groups that you want to improve at least twice per week, 3 times per week if you can handle it. Then if you have the time, you're making sure you're training for a minimum of 15 minutes to about an hour to hour and a half, which is all up to you, 2 to 4 times per week. And then you make sure that you are warming up all the movement patterns accordingly to be able to get the most effective reps for the best range of motion. And then you're eating enough protein, 1 gram per body weight of your ideal body weight. So whatever you want to weigh, eat some protein. Warming up
2 to 4 times a week.
2 to 4 times per week.
Every squat.
Pull. Okay.
Hinge.
Press. Push or press. Lunge. Core rotation. Yes. So all those things, being able to do that, training those 2 to 3 times per week with good range of motion. After
4
night,
times.
those, well, yeah.
Oh, 2 to 3 times a week movement patterns.
Yeah, you want to do those movement patterns and split them up. Training 2 to 4 times per week. Effective reps, 1 to 2 reps from failure. Bada bing, bada boom. Do better next week. That's it. Just takes doing a little bit better. What else? Warm up. What do you think? Progressively overload. There you go. No, you're just too excited. It's the little things, I guess.
Yeah. I'm trying not to laugh the whole time.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram. If you're not already there, there'll be a link in the description below. And we'll have more workshops. If you're in the area and you need coaching, holler at us. We do remote coaching as well. If you're not too far away from the South Hills, come chat with Abby and she can tell you what's up. And we can just tell you how to do all those things if you don't want to think about it.
Yep. We got you.
And if you're a client and you have questions, ask us.
Yep. All of them. Every question. Any question.
Yeah, throw them in the comments or ask us in person. Whichever's easier for you. Until...
Scott, we'll see you in the comments.
Let's see. Yeah. Scott. Josh.
Yeah.
Probably your mom.
Yep.
Your
Big
mom.
commenters.
Yeah. Get in there. Victoria. I think those are only 4.
Yeah.
You guys rock it.
Yep. Keep commenting.
And then if you don't go to this gym, comment. That's cool too. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, comments below.
Like and subscribe. Bye, everybody. It's cold.